Here are the packaging of all the Spider-Man Marvel Legends figures over the course of 20 years, with this one in 2001, right down to the recent one in 2022. Here are the back of the packagings. Let's take a look at the one that started it all. Here's the plastic clamshell packaging of Spider-Man Classics Scarlet Spider, and the Spider-Man Classics figures, as most of us know, prerequisites all the Toybiz Marvel Legends figures. The Toybiz Marvel Legends figures have very similar packaging to these Spider-Man Classics figures, and this packaging comes with the figure and also a comic at the back of it. Most of the Spider-Man Classics figures comes with a diorama base like this. They might be a different shape. And I really don't know why they make it such a way that the clamshell actually bends the leg. I'm really sure when the figure is taken out, the knees are going to be warped. And for this Scarlet Spider figure, it isn't accurate. It doesn't have the belt at the waist. Here's the back of the packaging. You can really see for mine, it has yellowed terribly over time. So I'm always amazed when I see a collector that has a very clear plastic clamshell for these Spider-Man Classics and also the Toybiz Marvel Legends figures. And I think the Toybiz packagings are quite notorious for grammatical errors. And for this one, they actually repeated the word "and". And for this packaging, the clamshell is really sealed off at all sides and there's no way for you to open this with your bare hands. If you can, you're probably going to damage the comic and the figure as well, because there's no way you can rip apart this plastic clamshell. You really need to use a pen knife or scissors to really cut carefully to get the figure out. I wasn't collecting back then, of course. I only started collecting in about 2012. So a question for the older collectors, has there ever been any figure swap for this sort of packaging? I really wonder if that's possible because the packaging is really difficult to open up. Next are these Spider-Man Trilogy figures. I know they're not exactly labeled as Marvel Legends, but the figures are 1/12 scale, done by Toybiz, and most of them have the same articulation as the Toybiz Marvel Legends figures. And of course, this one is the sought after original Pizza Spidey. We had this Pizza Spidey a few years back, but yeah, this is the original one. There are really a lot of these Toybiz Spider-Man Trilogy figures. And like I said, most of them have good articulation. There are a few that have gimmicks on the figure, so it doesn't have the same amount of articulation. And most of the figures in this storyline have accessories or dioramas. Here's the back of the packaging with a picture of how the gimmick on the accessories work. Quite a lengthy bio. And also a few other figures from the wave. So around that era, in the early 2000s, besides the normal Toybiz Marvel Legends figures, we also had some figures which is on the plastic clamshell plastered to a cutback. The X-Men Classics figures also had it that way. And also the Spider-Man Classics series moved on to this sort of packaging as well. No longer using the clamshell packaging like the Scarlet Spider which I showed you earlier. One thing that I don't understand about Toybiz is the need for them to cable tie the figures to the clamshell, because the clamshell itself kind of holds the figure in place, and this cable tie really just make it more troublesome for us to take out the figure. And on to the next packaging. In 2007, Hasbro took over the Marvel Legends line. Some of us call it the dark age of Hasbro because the figures are not really that great back then. But there were some sought after figures like this black costume Spidey. The figure is on the clamshell, plastered to the cutback. There's the artwork at the side of the figure, which looks good. And here's the back of the packaging. It still has quite a lengthy bio and some stats as well, and a picture of the rest of the figures in the wave. And for this early Hasbro packaging, instead of cable ties, they have rubber bands. And you can see that this rubber band has disintegrated over the many years to the point that it's like almost powder-like. And again, I don't understand why there's a need for the rubber band because the clamshell holds the figure in place. I mean, look at that. This is more than enough to hold the figure in place. I don't know why they need to put the rubber band. You can see a bit of the disintegrated rubber band here on the wrist. So this packaging only went on for about 2 years before Hasbro Marvel Legends went on a hiatus. And in 2012, they came back with the return of Marvel Legends. And the reception at that time, I think, was quite decent. This one is in the Arnim Zola BAF wave, but doesn't have a BAF. And back then, you can really see how bare the clamshell is because most of the time, the figures don't come with much accessories. And also the Return of Marvel Legends series had the variants. You can see the background here is Big Time Spidey, but the figure is Future Foundation. In my country, it's actually really hard to find this Future Foundation version. Most of us keep getting the Big Time Spidey. Here's the back of the packaging, just one big artwork of the character and just a sentence to describe the character, and here's the rest of the figures in the wave. One thing I don't like about this packaging is that the whole portion of cutback over here is really big and it gets creases and dents easily, so it's actually really hard to find this sort of packaging which is in decent condition. So for collectors who wants to keep it in packaging, they would have a tough time finding one which is in good condition. So this return of Marvel Legends figures started in 2012 and lasted for about 2 years. And in 2014, we have the Infinite series. And the packaging is totally different. This time, the clamshell is in the box instead of being plastered to a cutback. And this packaging from 2014 is what Hasbro has used all the way till now. Here's the back of the packaging with a short bio and the rest of the figures in the wave. There's artwork at the side of the box. So yeah, this is the main packaging for Hasbro Marvel Legends now. And from a few years back, we have this retro packaging which was released alongside this sort of normal packaging. We have the clamshell glued to the cutback, and this time round the cutback is quite solid compared to all these previous figures. Here's the back of the packaging. It has the short bio in different languages, and the design of the cutback is different for the different waves. And finally, we have this kind of controversial windowless packaging, whereby there isn't any plastic on the packaging, but ironically, it is a packaging for a figure made of plastic. Lol. There's totally no way for you to see the figure from outside, and you know there's been a lot of figure swaps that happen with this packaging, and the fact that we can't see any defects or any problem with the figure because there isn't any plastic window for us to see the figure in the packaging. Hasbro has gone back to this packaging in the recent Void and Mindless One wave. So I really hope it's good riddance to this packaging. So there you have it, the different Marvel Legends packaging throughout the years. Out of all this packaging, which is the one that you prefer the most? For me, I like the retro cutback, especially when the figure has a lot of accessories. It really fills up the clamshell. And if the figure comes with the BAF piece, then it would be this normal Infinite series box. All these over here are Spidey figures, but the packaging for other characters are more or less the same for each of the era. Thanks for watching. I would really appreciate if you drop some comments for the video and check out my other reviews at my channel.